Firstly, a big thanks to Stylecom for the invite to be here today. These are truly exciting conferences because we get a chance to mix and mingle, and there's one thing in common: we all want to make New Zealand and China trade work, and that's certainly what I try to do for New Zealand Post. So welcome, thank you very much. New Zealand Post is a state-owned enterprise. We're 178 years young compared to many Chinese companies. That's quite young. And today I'm going to talk about cross-border e-commerce exports to China, with particular focus on what Jason's theme from CCIC is that's proof of provenance. We believe that this is one of the greatest risks that we face as a trading nation to China, and ourselves and colleagues from Assure Quality trying our best to create food trust frameworks where the risk is mitigated for food product exports to China. And in particular today I want to pay reference to what we're doing in the blockchain space, and we have our colleagues Nick, the founder of TrackPack from blockchain company. So it's exciting times for what we're trying to achieve. Carrying on with Jason's theme, Manuka honey. It is the champagne of honey worldwide. We're really good at making it. It's liquid gold to the Chinese, and Chinese families in particular want it for health and supplements for their children. And obviously, well, they can't get enough of it. And as we can see, and as Jason's alluded to, more Manuka honey sold in China than we can actually produce. Now that's a great thing in one respect and not in another. Obviously you can understand that there's a lot of fake Manuka honey in China. So one of the issues we face as a trading nation is how do we mitigate that risk in the food chain. It doesn't stop at Manuka honey. We're really good at making wine as well. Marco alluded to a bottle of wine that's going to be given away shortly. We're good at making wine as well, producing wine, should I say. And the Chinese palates are increasing wine as one of their favourite alcohol beverages. The issue with wine, obviously, in China as well, is that it also suffers from the same issues as what Manuka honey does. In fact, last Singles Day, 60% of all wine exports was fraudulent. And it still doesn't stop at wine. Obviously, there's some issues across a number of leading brands that are sold in and around the world. And these are some of the labels that we see out there in the market. So risk, fraud is a significant issue in dealing in international trade as a trading nation and with China as well. So much so that if you looked at the amount of fraud that's going on in the world at the moment, it's $1.2 trillion, roughly the size of the GDP of Australia. So it's a significant amount of risk that we face and that exporters have faced from New Zealand as well. Again, Jason alluded to the Daigou channel. Look, it's a critical channel for trade from New Zealand, absolutely. And the issue we've got with the Daigou channel is that it does lack proof of provenance, the single source of truth from the export processing point of view, through the supply chain, through to the platform, and through to the consumer. That end-to-end transparency is absolutely critical for us to work and create value for New Zealand exports to China. Now in particular, I'm talking about cross-border e-commerce here. The team at Assure Quality, Pam here from Assure Quality, they've put a lot of work into understanding what's driving consumer behaviour in China, and they put it down to two words for trust. One, can it be believed, and the other one, can it be relied upon. These two key areas is what's driving we believe, Chinese consumer belief in the product that they're purchasing. We saw a lot of videos from a lot of people in Shanghai about who and how they trade online with. A significant risk for them is to ensure that that product is not fraudulent, and that's the risk we have in terms of New Zealand export products to China. So, the key here is that it's not just about the supply chain. The consumer wants to see that the product, where it was manufactured in the first instance. So it's almost farm gate or hive to plate. They want to see the end-to-end visibility of that product and the absolute belief that it is authenticated in a structured way. So Assured Quality and New Zealand Post have been working together to build a food trust framework that extends end-to-end. Assured Quality, if you don't know, is New Zealand's is a state-owned enterprise that is all about food safety. So with them as a regulator at one end, they work their magic across not just the food regulation of the product, but the platforms as well, to ensure that the messaging is correct for those products and the end-to-end supply chain. And that single source of truth that we put across it is the magic that our friends at TrackPack have done with blockchain. I don't want to go into a blockchain conversation here. I could bore you for the next 30, 40 minutes. I haven't got the time to do that this time. But if anyone wants to know about how we're doing blockchain, we've got Nick here from TrackPack here. Just a quick run through of New Zealand Post. As I said, we're 175 years young. And when we started at the birth of our country, we were connecting ourselves to our old country, the UK, England, with letters, parcels and freight. The funny thing is, 175 years later, we're connecting New Zealand to the rest of the world with the same products, letters, parcels and freight. Those parcels have changed. The dynamic nature of exports has changed, obviously, and many of those parcels that we're sending to the rest of the world is now product manufactured in New Zealand and sent through cross-border e-commerce. As I alluded to, ourselves and Assured Quality have been working on a food trust framework, because one of the issues that we've seen over these years is how much of our product, the product that has been sent here, may not be authenticated, may not be covered under Chinese regulations. And so there's an element of risk to the Chinese consumer. So we're absolutely committed to ensuring that those parcels and those products that are sent from New Zealand have product that's authenticated, has a form of truth across it. We're working to the next level of technology, where we can be part of a blockchain world where those products are the messaging of the supply chain is part of a single source of truth. So the consumer can absolutely have faith that what is sent from New Zealand is exactly what they ordered online. We've been working a POA with a number of Māori export products, and one in particular was a Manuka honey company that is part of our blockchain trial. And those Maori originated products stem from wine, Manuka honey, and into food products. So why blockchain? What is blockchain? Well, blockchain enables a way of extending the digital signature of products, clearly understanding through that end-to-end that the elements associated with that digital signature are the single source of truth. And the blockchain trial, and they can go through it in more detail, is designed for cross-border e-commerce initially, but we see it as a way for general trade in the future as well. It's extremely exciting. It is in many ways a world first that has been conducted within New Zealand. Another partner that is not here today is Trust Codes. Trust Codes is a New Zealand company that forms the QR code, which is the base foundation of how we can associate the blockchain information to the supply chain and to the consumer. Our blockchain trial it is not covering the manufacturing stage. The blockchain trial under assured quality is sitting on our end-to-end product called EMS, which is a express mail product. So really the blockchain covers us from the warehouse through the supply chain into China Post and delivery to the consumer. I just want to finish, because I know we're switched on time, I just wanted to finish saying that New Zealand Post, China to New Zealand Post is now our second largest export market after Australia, but is growing exponentially. And we're committed at New Zealand Post to ensuring that the product that leaves New Zealand is safe and validated across the journey to ensure that the Chinese consumer, what they receive from New Zealand, is what they ordered. And that is either through platforms, through Daigo. We are committed to food safety, food trust, and transparency